Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kramer. Our guest today is Jeni Hott. We are going to get into internet marketing. You are a pioneer, Jeni. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I'm so excited about this.
So I'm going to just share a really short story with our listeners about how you and I connected, because I think it's super fun. So we were both in a shared group, and you had posted a question about, just getting some feedback on some potential names, like program names that might resonate with people. And I'm not super active in groups. I had just joined that one. So of course, anytime you join, like, stuff pops up on your feed, and I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so fun. So I answered the question, and I had shared in my response that the reason that I had resonated so much with that title suggestion was because I had gotten into, like, the online marketing thing way back in early 2001. And so that terminology was, like, deeply programmed into me, something about passive income or something like that. And I remember, like, early on in those days, everybody was, it was all about having, like, this lifestyle business and the how rich you could get on the internet and all of that stuff. And they use certain terminology. And so, it programs you, you get hooked on that. So you got sort of like the warm and fuzzies with those old associations. And you said, oh my God, yeah, I've been in, doing the online thing forever too. And so then we connected, and had some fun stories to share about, like, early dial-up days and the
It
Wild
is
West
so
days of the
rare
internet.
to find,
And I think
yeah,
that's a
it is so
great,
rare to find somebody else
yeah, it
that has,
is. It is. A lot of people, they dabble, wasn't the, easy million that they thought it was going to be. And so,
right,
they move on. But here
right.
you are, and you actually made it the $1 million. You were living the dream. You created it for yourself. And I think that's a really fun place to start this conversation.
It
Let's
only
kick
took
things
10
off.
years.
Yeah, let's talk about this. What has your journey been, from the early Wild West days of the internet and internet marketing businesses to where you are today?
Well, I started back at the AOL dial-up days, and it was wild back then. It was like there was nobody to really learn from. There was nobody to learn from. You had, like, the ugly free GeoCities websites and all of that, and I just needed to make money for my books for college. It was like $1,000 a semester, and, like, I just needed to make a little extra money. But I started by selling seeds online, and believe it or not, it was really good, and it ended up being the same approaches, the same strategies I use today, where it's very much focused on connecting with people. And it's interesting now that I've seen the whole evolution of the internet, right? I remember the dawn of social media when, Twitter first came out, and, like, we had all of a sudden we had these Yahoo groups, and it was like, it's like one thing after another. And now you see AI, and it's like looking back through this whole landscape of how internet marketing has evolved. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling.
When someone is thinking about how to, I don't even necessarily want to say scale, but they want to leverage the power of online marketing and using the internet to create more financial freedom, more time freedom for themselves. It can be, I think, just as intimidating, if not more intimidating now, because there is so much information, and a lot of it directly contradicts each other. So you've got some people saying, no, you have to do it this way. And then someone else who is also an expert is saying, do not ever do it that way. And
Right.
there are so many different tactics and gurus and experts, and no shortage of coaches and no shortage of programs. I'd love to get into this from your perspective, because I know we have people listening in all different industries. Some of them are brick and mortar business owners. Many of them are online and have already established, some success for themselves, with whether it's e-commerce or just even marketing their service-based business or whatever it is. But when it comes to actually finding systems and strategies that work in business, what have you seen? Because you've been around for a very long time, and I know you're helping people really like laser in and focus and create something successful online for themselves.
I think it's funny. It's like I usually start out by telling people like what I'm explaining, the path that I'm explaining, or the strategy that I'm showing you is specifically for, six figures or more, seven figures, a lot of time freedom. Like it's specifically for that. So I think it's really important to look at what your goals are, and then to ask yourself if this strategy is going to get you to that goal. Because what you see out there, it's the bottom 9%, 99%, right, of all the stuff, where you get more and more tailored. Um, that level of stuff is designed all over the place for everybody's goals, for all these different things, right? So if somebody wants to create a low ticket, item, low ticket product, a digital product, that's not going to be the same strategies that work for someone who wants to make six figures or more, right? So it's more about really being clear on your goals and then asking yourself and being very clear, is this the right strategy to follow? Is this the right guru or coach to follow? I think it's very important to understand there's no one blueprint for everybody. Every entrepreneur is different. Every niche is different. Every audience is different. There's so many different variables. And so you have to really understand what your goals are and then get clarity on all those other things. And then ask yourself, is this going to work? Most importantly is really about asking yourself about the lifestyle that you want and if that's going to fit with me. Like I'm always looking at freedom, right? So anybody that hasn't heard of me, they know I have tendinopathy in my hands, wrists, and forearms. So I have to be very protective of my time. That's why I became the queen of automation. It's why I became the woman who can make seven figures without going a year without working. Um, I have to look at every single strategy. How much time is that going to take? And I have golden rules about it. Like for me, I know that I want to take every 3 or 4 months. I want to take a break. Sorry, it's the other way around. I won't implement a strategy that makes me have to work more than once every 3 or 4 months. So for me, I will look at a strategy and be like, that is really cool what that person's doing. Now, is that a right fit for me? Is that going to make me have to repeat that every 3 or 4 months? Does it have to be done sooner than that? Okay, well, it's a great strategy. It's not for me. Move on. Right. So it's really about that. It's about understanding what your values are, what your goals are, and then seeing if that's going to apply to that. It's going to take you one step closer or one step farther back.
I love that. I think that is solid advice. And it applies to everyone who is listening. I've had this conversation with others in the past about that tendency to try to make something fit for us, whether it is a strategy or even some type of guru. We
Yeah.
might resonate with certain things that they teach. And I see this more with newer people than with seasoned entrepreneurs. Seasoned business owners, oftentimes they've gone through all of this. And so they know the game and they're much more specific about cherry picking those pieces, even of different courses and things like that, and
Yeah.
discarding the rest. Before all of those newer entrepreneurs who haven't, had those hard knocks lessons yet, there's that tendency to enroll in a program or learn from a certain coach or trainer, guru, or whatever. And they're trying so hard to make everything work for them, even the things that are incongruent with their values, incongruent with their lifestyle goals, incongruent with their personality and their
Yeah.
preferences. And that's really sad. It causes people a lot of internal friction. And I think it can then create those negative beliefs that, I can't do it. I'm not cut out from it for this. I'm not good enough. See, I knew I, wasn't good at sales or I wasn't good at marketing or whatever. And what you're saying is, take a few steps back and really like evaluate your priorities and your goals and your values and what you want first. And that's going to help you to be more strategic about what you're learning and who you're learning from. And I think that is such valuable information that people really need to take to heart.
Absolutely. Most entrepreneurs that come in, especially if they're new, like you said, most of them will come in and they'll ask themselves, what can I do that will work? And it's a very dangerous approach to doing it, because then you end up settling, and people don't really look at it that way, but it's the truth. So whereas if you say, okay, I'm going to do something that really doesn't make me have to work every month. Like I will not touch something that makes me have to work every month if it's in the long term, once it's done end of launch. But most entrepreneurs, they really do settle. They just assume. I just did the research on the latest on how often or how much entrepreneurs work. And it's like the average entrepreneur works 60 to 80 hours a week. But we go into becoming entrepreneurs because we want freedom, right? I know, because I've interviewed enough people to know this. Like I've interviewed hundreds, and that's always the word that comes up is they want freedom. Yet they're working 60 to 80 hours a week, to make it work. And it's because they just didn't come in it from that angle. A lot of times too, they'll come in because they think that that's just what they have to do, right? The mindset is, I must work hard for money, right? I must do all the things. I must be in all the places. I must do all the marketing. I must do all of this. And then there's the mindset of, I have to do it myself. That lasts a very long time in most entrepreneurs, before they realize that they have to delegate. If you want to be successful, you have to have a team. So there's a lot of things that they have to work out first, right? But the bottom line is, it really should be you first. You have to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Before you go helping the others. So it's you first, then it's your clients or your audience, and then it's everything else. It should be designed around that. Like, what do you want first? What do you want from your business? How much money do you want to make? How often do you want to work? When do you want to work? Who do you want to work with? You have freedom to choose all of that. You do not ever have to do any of those that you do not want to do. There is always a way to make it work on your terms. Once an entrepreneur understands that, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame, and everything just becomes easy, effortless, and everything can work out the way that they want. It's just not spreading themselves too thin, not having to, do all the hard stuff. It took me a very long time to realize that, like, so before 10 years of struggle and trying to, make things work, where I was, sometimes making okay money, sometimes not. I was never really successful for that first 10 years. And then when I developed the condition with my hands, I didn't have a choice but to stop working so much. And ironically, it came from working so hard. But what with that next 3 years, when I realized, okay, I have, like, today I have 15 minutes to work before my hands give out. Believe it or not, that first year I was so productive and I got so much more done, which now I know the statistics on it. It's like somebody who works less, works only a few days a week, gets more done productively than someone who works 40 hours a week or more, by like 60%. It's crazy that first. So when you really think of it that way, it makes it easy to understand why all of a sudden I went from that 10 years of struggle and trying to figure it out to 3 years to hit my first six-figure month. And that year before that, with my online business, I made $1,300 for the whole year, not a month, for the whole year. And 3 years later, I had hit a six-figure month. So I looked back at that, and I still look back at it in awe, because I'm like, it's so backwards. We think that we have to work so hard to get things to work. 10 years of struggle, and then 3 years of taking it easy, barely working, and boom, I hit seven figures. That's phenomenal. And then when you look at it this way too, is like 96% of the population trades time for money, right? Those are the ones, and the majority of them are struggling for money, don't have enough. They're in that scarcity phase. But you look at the top 4%, and especially the top 1%, none of them are trading time for money. They are all focused on passive income. They've all got teams. They've all got delegation. They've all got, these systems in place that make things work. And it's a whole different world when you start to realize that, you start to understand that it's actually, when you work smarter, it's not even just smarter, not harder. It's a whole different level than that. It's many levels deeper than that. But when you start to understand that, that's when you realize, okay, I can have that freedom. I can have that passive income. I can have, I don't have to work with every client or any client that it'll just take me. You have that freedom to design that life you want, and then your business around that.
So there are people who are listening who are on the edge of their seat. They're thinking to themselves, that sounds amazing. That would be a dream come true. But how? Where do I start? Where do I even begin? Do you
So
have any tips?
yes. So there's if you're strictly focused online, and if offline, that's not my world, but online, there's four online business models, right? There's e-commerce and agency models, which is doing one-on-ones, life coaches, things like that. Those two I usually say stay away from. I mean, they're fine, they're fun. They're heart driven. If you have an agency model, my heart goes out to you because that is a lot of work. Um, so those two, I usually say, if you want ultimate freedom, like those are the two you want to really avoid. If you really want freedom, you want to aim for the next two. One is an influencer model. The influencer model is great. I have made a fortune doing that. I was the first seven-figure blogger. So um, that one, though, it does take a long time to build up the following to make real money. But if you tie it in with the last one, which is the information model, which is online education, which is like, I think I just saw the latest numbers, like $3.15 billion this year alone. And it's still projected to grow at a super rapid rate for the next 15 years. So if you tie in some kind of an online product, an information product, a course, a coaching program that's, it's automated like that, that's where the freedom is. That's where you can create something that's super easy, it's fast to launch. And if you tie that in with the influencer model so that you're marketing it through yourself, through social media, things like that, it's really not that difficult. If you can find the right coach to bring you through to so that you're not doing all the things, not working too hard, and you have that clear path and a little bit of guidance, just so that you can learn from their mistakes, right? If you can learn those lessons as fast as you can, and if you can understand how to delegate as fast as you can, then it's a very quick path for sure.
I love it. And you see influencers who I'll just use YouTube as an example. They start out and their goal is I'm going to get YouTube famous.
Mhm.
Maybe that's not their words, but basically, they're rising the ranks in YouTube. And we know that the actual money that you can earn from like uh, the Google's to like monetization is
Yeah,
you'd have to be really big to make a lot of money, but that's
yeah,
not even where a lot of the influencers are focusing. That's only one small revenue stream. They're focusing on what are those other income streams that I can create based on all this clout that I've built for myself. And I know that there are a lot of like more of your conventional business models, attorneys and things like that, where they're finding ways to strategically create more leveraged like information products and those types of things, because otherwise, even if you're a high income earner, you're always going to be capped at what you can actually create in exchange for your time. And
yeah.
I think that for somebody listening who is in that type of business and they're thinking, okay, well, I've got a private practice. How could I possibly, use one of those models to my advantage? Aren't I always going to be locked into this, trading my time for money type of thing? And it doesn't have to be like that. There are always ways that you can create more leverage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny is I see the same path for online entrepreneurs when it comes to the influencer model. I see the same path every time. And if I can shortcut that for anybody listening to this, I'm happy to. They start out by thinking, okay, I'm going to make money from Google paying me for these videos. Then they realize it takes a super long time to make anything real. They realize, okay, I have all of this leverage, all these people that are following me that I can monetize if I could figure out a way. Then they turn to sponsorships. And then they realize, okay, it's really kind of a pain and you're really working hard with these sponsorships, right? You're making great money, but it's feast or famine for a good while. And there's a lot of pitfalls when it comes to sponsorships and affiliate marketing. I did it for years and I've made a lot of money doing it, but it's still not the easiest. The easiest one is the last one that the entrepreneurs go to, and that is having something of their own. When you have something of your own, you have that security, which is really nice. You get to choose how much to pay or how much to charge. You have so much more freedom with it. And that's the biggest difference. You also have something that you can choose how you want to offer it. You have total control and you're not sharing the money. You're not earning the money for somebody else and getting pennies for it, right? So you can go very quickly to 6 figures, 7 figures. The last one I launched straight was it made 220 something thousand dollars in the first year. And that was me still taking off several months at a time. When I say that when it comes to those products, if you do it right and if you have the right path, you can launch those so fast. And obviously the next year, you can hit 7 figures very easily. Again, as long as you have the right guidance, you've got the right support.
There's so much more that we could extract from you because of all of your experience and expertise. I'm going to definitely encourage our audience to make sure that they connect with you, which is my next question. How can our listeners learn more from you? Where would you direct them to?
They can go to jenihott.com, which is JeniHott.com, or you can find me on Facebook, and there's a link to my Facebook group, which I do a lot of free coaching in there. I actually didn't start that group on purpose. It's not intended to market. So take advantage of it while it's here. I'm probably not going to keep it around forever. I started it so that I could show people how to do the settings on it, and a bunch of people jumped in, and I was like, okay, it just keeps growing. So now we have a Facebook group, and there's just a lot of free guides and a lot of free lessons. If you have questions, you're more than welcome to ask in there. And I absolutely love guiding entrepreneurs. So it's really, really fulfilling for me if you guys come in there and ask questions and I can help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeni. This has
You're very
been a ton
welcome.
of fun. I wish I had more time with you to share more with everyone, but you've provided an incredible resource, so they're not going to be left empty-handed. Go take advantage of learning as much as you can from Jeni. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you to all of our listeners. You know we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.